Hello, welcome to Light Guided. Lisa here. I'm always happy to get a chance to connect with this collective. This is going to be an energy reading for the month of August. And I want to take a moment just to bring in some healing, grounding energy for this collective. And you're welcome to close your eyes and just focus in on that healing vibration that is already available to you. Beautiful. Okay. Hopefully, for those of you that are sensitive, hopefully you get the benefit of that feeling, that experience of that healing vibration going out to you from Spirit. Spirit has some really important messages this month, especially around this idea of oneness. And what they were showing me is in this concept of oneness, a lot of us are struggling or dealing with mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We're dealing with the feeling and energy of separateness, and there's like an understanding of this idea of oneness, and yet everything around us continues to feel separate. It continues to be an energy of divide, of division. They're sharing with me that many of us are seeing this kind of division happening in all different layers and areas of our lives. We see this in our personal lives with friends and family, conflict, people who are struggling in their ascension journey. They're struggling in their ability to adapt and grow in their consciousness and to connect in with the collective energy of spirit, of wholeness, of oneness. And so they're, because of where they are in their journeys, sometimes that conflict or that sense of separateness, we're confronted with that, with the people that we know. We also see a level of this energy of separateness within ourselves around our own ideas, our ideas about who we think we are, who we think we're becoming. Do our lives align with this inner shift that's happening? And when it doesn't align, we feel that inner sense of conflict or a lack of well-being. And then they're showing me sort of the greater kind of the globe and kind of, worldwide, what's happening worldwide external to us that's triggering some of this experience of, for some of us, it's an experience of fear and anxiety because there's a sense of division that's so strong that we can't see the light on the other side of this seeming division. Global politics, the things happening with COVID and the reactions that people are having around these different circumstances, racial injustice. This has been kind of the theme for the last almost 2 years. And we're seeing and being exposed to this energy of divisiveness. And the message that Spirit wants you to know is, even though we're seeing these experiences and we're receiving input that keeps pushing at us to say there's all this division, there's all this separation, there is no unity, the message that they want to convey is that it's important at this time to look beyond what's on the surface. And it's very difficult to do that when we're being inundated with information constantly that appears to be one way, but actually there's something bigger happening behind the scenes. There's something much bigger happening. And yes, so that energy that we are experiencing is separateness, or fearing is separateness. They want you to know that, in fact, there's a grand plan here. And they're kind of giving me this impression of like, they sort of showed me rocks breaking apart like a geode and the crystals inside, but I'm not quite sure what they mean by that. it's perhaps this idea that two things. One is what's on the surface is not always what's happening, right? Sometimes there's something much bigger happening, and that's the main message they want to convey. There's another piece here. One moment, let me tune into this. Oh, they're just asking me to go ahead and start the reading, and they will reveal more as we go, as we unfold. Wow. Check out these messages from Spirit. There is only light. This is kind of the message they were trying to convey in the channeling. There is only light. So no matter what we see on the surface, no matter what we think we're perceiving, remember that as human beings, we're always projecting our own mentality, basically, our own mental experience onto what we might call reality. So we're always projecting onto reality, and therefore we can never really fully see or understand all of the things that are happening beyond our perception, beyond our day-to-day experience. They're asking us to step into a space, and this often comes up, meditation, you know, beginning to tap into that greater energy. Meditation can help us move beyond the perception, the day-to-day perception, right? It can help us move beyond that and into connecting with this presence or this energy that often is unfelt or imperceptible in kind of our day-to-day lives, right? But when we meditate, we're tuning into that. And so it's kind of like when you're in a meditative state or spending time consciously focusing that energy and effort, it's like tuning a radio station. You become this fine-tuned channel, no pun intended, but you become this channel for receiving the energy that is part of this greater good. And so, in fact, they're saying, you know, for me to share this with you, when I'm channeling that energy, that's all I'm doing. I'm just tuning into a different frequency. I'm tuning into a different vibration. And so part of our work as a collective is to, they're using the word deny, but it's kind of like to ignore or to dismiss or to, all right, I'll go with that example, but they're saying like to deny, ignore, or dismiss all the things that are coming at you that allow you to think that there is separation and division. Those are false narratives that are promoted by human beings, right? With our projections onto reality. And this is not a disrespect to any human being or to their views, but we all project onto the veil. We all project onto the true reality, which is often beyond our perception. So they are asking us to be more intentional in our tuning into the energy that is beyond the day-to-day perception. What's happening here behind the scenes, so to speak, is that things are coming into alignment. What we're experiencing right now is the transition from one energy into another energy. We've talked about this before. And, you know, when we're moving into a greater alignment, there's often things that have to fall away. There's things that get shook loose, basically, so that the new energy can emerge. Why is this important? Because they want you to recognize and understand that what's happening, even if on the surface it looks terrible, it looks chaotic, it looks painful, it looks dark, even if on the surface that may be true, and our initial impression or perception of reality is skewed by our human experience, right, by our brains. They want you to know that, in fact, we're moving toward greater alignment. And so, yeah, there's just the important message there of allowing yourself to integrate that message, allowing yourself to integrate the message that greater alignment is in process, that's what we're moving into. I don't know if any of you have ever had the experience of maybe with a good friend or in a partnership or, you know, even a job like a boss or a family member where there's just been this incredible conflict. Something happened and there's been an incredible conflict and you think, oh my gosh, this is the end of our connection. It's the end of our relationship. We're now separated forever. You know, we're never going to meet eye to eye. We're never going to see, you know, things in a way that allow us to move forward. And so part of your belief then in that moment is sort of, you know, doom and gloom, I guess, is one way of saying it. You know, we get to that doom and gloom. But for those of you who have been able to, in committed situations, work through that conflict, find a way to speak the truth, each of you, hear the truth, and then not only do you arrive at a more congenial place that's more filled with equanimity and balance and peace, right? But there's a strengthening that happens in your relationship as you're able to work through that. So, in other words, when you're in those situations, you're not taking that conflict to say the conflict is the reality and that's the end of the story. You're taking the conflict to say this is an opportunity to grow and learn. And when you do that, you then come into greater alignment with each other, and that elevates your relationship. It elevates the vibration of that connection. So they're giving us that analogy to say that it's very similar to what's happening now. What's happening now is that, you know, the world appears to be in total chaos, and it's all this conflict and pain and sadness and, you know, hurt. People are going through so much hurt and anger. And yet, as we work through that, we come into greater alignment vibrationally. And so we'll look a little bit at what is the role of light workers for this period of time, for August in particular. And we'll take a deeper look at that, okay? Finally, we have this energy of letting go. And they're saying that this is about letting go, essentially letting go of old stories, letting go of the facade of who you are, who you think you are, so that you can be available to evolve in this space of this new energy. They're also telling me, kind of jokingly, for some of you, this is like letting go of, there's certain beliefs and things that you hold on to that, it's weird. They're sort of being cheeky about it. I'm not quite sure what they mean. We'll see what else is revealed. But it has something to do with eating chocolate. They were showing me like letting go of eating chocolate, you know, stop eating chocolate or letting go of that, whatever that is for you. I have no idea what that means, but they did it in a very cute and playful way. All right. So let's see. Spirit, for the month of August, what does this collective need to understand about their role in this energy? I feel like I don't even need to say more about that. Orbs of light and key of light. Wow. Light workers, right? So in this current energy, and I'm trying to translate, sometimes I get the messages as an energy, but not always as words. And so sometimes it's hard for me to translate this into something that makes sense. So let me see if I can get what they're trying to convey here. So light workers, as orbs of light, as orbs of light in this current energy, in this current time. It's really your purpose to just shine, to not get caught up in the storyline of what's happening in the 3D right now, not get caught up in the storyline, but to continue to hold that consciousness of light. And they're saying here that that's the key, that the key part of the reason that we're here at this time is to hold that energy so that we can help move through this period of alignment toward the greater good, toward this higher energy, toward this more unified, loving, graceful energy. So our role in this is to hold the light, to be the light. And we'll look at what does that mean for some of us? How do we do that? What does that mean? But they are saying very specifically, this is the key to the whole thing. If without light workers at this time, in this time, in this place, in this current vibration, without light workers to hold and anchor and ground that place of consciousness, that place of knowing, that place of love and compassion, without that, there is no momentum to move forward. There's nothing to move forward. It has no traction, right? So let's see if they have anything more on this. No, they're asking me to move on. Spirit, what do light workers need to work through during this period in order to hold the light? Anything more, please? Okay. Oh, a lot of cards. Wow. Okay. One moment. Here's a repeat. We have letting go. Again, you know, finding that place within yourself to feel safe enough to let go of old paradigms, giving yourself permission through that process to release, you know, basically what no longer serves you. For some of you, there's a much deeper energy around that, and we'll look and see how that unfolds. Friends, families, and guides. Rely on your tribe. Rely on the people that vibrate with you, the people that vibrate at the same energy as you. Connect in with your spirit guides. They're here all around you. They're waiting for you to call them in. They're waiting for you to tap into that energy. And again, they're bringing my attention back to meditation. So if you do not have a meditation practice, for those of you that are interested, if you don't have a meditation practice, this is what they're indicating, that this could be a helpful part of your process in this, and how you navigate holding this light, holding this space in this time of essentially chaos, right? That's not quite the right word to describe what's happening now, but it's an easy way to say it. We have milestones. Look at how far you've come in your own journey. Recognize with grace and compassion how far you have come. And they're saying that it's also important to extend that to others. Recognize that even if people aren't as far along as you are in their journey of expanded awareness and consciousness, that they are making incremental efforts. They are making incremental progress. And so be willing to share that compassion and appreciation for others' experience as well. We have to heal this victim mentality. They're saying that this is the energy that's kind of around us. For those of us that still have some of this energy within our own field, we're going to be responding to the world much more strongly. In other words, if there's energy in your field where you're still healing from a victim mentality kind of energy, anything that matches that vibration is going to, it's going to be a trigger, right? It's going to be an intense experience. So, you know, if there's pain and hurt in the world and you haven't healed your victim mentality energy, you're going to be feeling that pain so much more intensely, so much more intensely. So, so for those of you on this journey, if this resonates, there's an opportunity here to look at what does that mean to you? When I say the term victim mentality, does that resonate? Is there something inside of you that lights up? Do you recognize that you have some of that energy in your field? And how can you start to move that out? Taking steps. There's something in this energy about recognizing that there's sort of, they're giving me multiple messages here. One is that in the realm of spirit, time is limitless and there is no sequence of things, right? It's not like there's a, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's not linear that way. That's how we think in 3D, and as humans, we think in a linear way. But in spirit, everything is happening at the same time. It's all at once. The past, present, and future are all occurring at the same time. So, so they're saying both on the one hand to recognize that all things are unfolding equally at the same time. And there's something here about patience. There's something here about being patient with yourself on the journey. And that goes back to that energy of compassion and grace for yourself and extending that out to others as well. Now we're challenged, right? It's very challenging to extend true grace and true compassion when there's so much hurt and pain and suffering in the world. And that is an internal practice that we each, you know, have to cultivate for ourselves. And then finally, we have this energy of planning and action. This is a similar energy for me as this is coming forward. It's like this kind of impatience. There's this energy of impatience, of wanting it all to be now, wanting it all to be resolved, you know, wanting to take control of it, wanting to take charge of things in a way that allows us to be comfortable or think that we're comfortable. And they're saying that's not the energy that's needed here. It's not time to try to take the reins and control everything. It's exactly the opposite. And the messages that I often receive, and I think there's a theme in a lot of my readings because of it, that this is a time for shifting into the energy of being and away from the energy of doing. That doesn't mean that we're sitting on the couch all day eating bonbons, right? You know, it's not connected to that, but it is a shift in perception or perspective on how we accomplish things. And the old energy is that we accomplish things by doing. We make a goal, it's a linear way of thinking, right? We make a goal, we set out, we do this, we accomplish it, we've reached our milestones, we're now successful. In the new energy, that whole paradigm is completely changed. There is no step 1, make this plan, reach this goal, you know, and be successful. It's a totally different approach. All right, so I will leave it at that, and let's see what other messages Spirit has. Spirit, what else here for this collective is ready to be released and healed? Oops. Wow, okay. Let's try that again. It's so funny. I don't know why this seems to be true, but as a reader, I have to have the cards organized and in alignment. There's something about that. And I've noticed, I watch other readers on YouTube as well. And a lot of us, we do the same kind of thing. It's like the cards have to be just so. It's very funny. I don't know what that is. It has something to do with the energy, the intuition, and bringing the messages in. I don't know. Very funny. Anyway, okay, so we were asking Spirit, what else, what's ready to be released and healed for this collective at this time? Yeah, wow, look, we have victim mentality again. Being the victim. Miracle. Wow. This miracle energy is about the belief that that good things are possible, that miracles are possible, or not. I guess in this case it would be, you know, thinking that miracles aren't possible. And so there's something here around allowing ourselves to stay focused on this energy of highest good, even if it feels like a fantasy, even if it feels totally disconnected from the reality that we're experiencing day to day, that we can hold on to this consciousness of miracle, this consciousness that all is coming into alignment, that it's all working perfectly. And that allows us to be freed up from some of the day-to-day anxiety, the day-to-day pain that's happening, which then again allows us to be that source of light, that key of light. Insecurity, letting go of insecurities. For some of you, this comes up as related to religious upbringing. There's a lot of fear that people are still healing from around their religious upbringing. And you recognize on some level that there are false stories within some religions, and those false stories that we've been taught in our upbringing to be real. You know, those are things we're still kind of working through. We're still unraveling some of that. And they're saying when you find the truth of spirit, not religion, right? We're not talking about religion. We're talking about divine truth, divine energy. When you tap into that, when you meditate and you connect in with that divine healing love, that divine compassionate grace, all of that, then you know all of these other stories can kind of fall away. Anything that you thought that's been holding you back will fall away. Some of you are healing soulmate relationships. Some of you may be very entrenched in difficult relationships. Some of you may be seeking a soulmate relationship, and that seeking in and of itself may be triggering or causing you to feel stuck. So this is a time for healing that. And here we go, perception, right? This is a time for healing our perception, for allowing for that shift to occur. This is a very powerful and beautiful energy. Actually, I want to look at this a little bit more closely. You can see here, we have a lot of energy here around transformation. Butterflies are usually representative of transformation. We have the bird, which is usually representative of communication. And then this beautiful emerald stone, which is a healing energy for the heart. It's a very healing energy. And I'm just noticing she's got her hand on the door and she's kind of walking out the door. And I feel like for some of you, this is about, I'll say, a little bit of anxiety about stepping out, stepping into the unknown. You may be very comfortable in your current spiritual understanding. You may be very comfortable and familiar with all the tools that you use as a light worker, and you may be being asked now to change that, to change the way you're approaching healing work, to change the way you're approaching your life, to change the way you're perceiving and understanding spirit as a whole. So that's pretty significant. What more would you like to tell us about this energy of perception, please? It didn't pop out, but it did flip over. Self-worth. So some of you are working on healing and, you know, dealing with some of those issues around self-worth and changing your story around self-worth, changing the story of what that means. A lot of us have misconceptions about what it means to feel worthy, and that comes from our woundedness. It comes from our wounded inner child. We think as a wounded inner child, we believe that worthiness is this idea of havingness, right? To be worthy, I can have, I can buy a new car or have a house or whatever these things are that allow you to feel like you're worthy. That's a definition of worthiness that comes from the wounded child. What we're being asked here is to recognize our worthiness as spiritual beings. And that's a very different concept. It's a very different way of thinking about ourselves. We can focus, all right, we can focus less on, forgive me, this comes to mind, and it's something I've been working through myself, which is, you know, having been through COVID and lots of changes this year and some really intense stress this year. I gained like 10 pounds, right? And I've been in that space of working through this very issue. What does it mean when my body starts to change, and can I hold an understanding and can I hold an understanding in such a way about the changes that are happening in my body that I can recognize that I am part of spirit no matter what, and that the changes in my physical body have nothing to do with my true worth as a soul, as a spirit. And so I don't know why they showed me that and gave me the sense of like it would be good for me to share that. I don't think I'm alone in that experience. But the point here is that we are learning to redefine what our self-worth is. And then finally, isolation. They have more messages on this energy of isolation, but what they're telling me is that for some of you in this collective, isolation, it's not quite the right word to describe what the situation is for you, but they're saying basically that some of you have kind of turned inward in such a way that it's becoming like a defense mechanism in a way, right? Like a survival or a self-protective mechanism. And that's ready to be healed. They're saying that's no longer serving you. If you've been someone who has, you know, really gone inward to the point where you're not participating in life in a fulfilling and rewarding way, that's kind of problematic here. And there's a little word on this piece of paper, and unfortunately I can't read it. You know that whole thing I was saying about body changes? Well, my eyes are changing too, and I can't quite read what that is, but they're drawing my attention to that. There's something here. Let's see if they can clarify. Spirit, can you clarify this isolation energy with emphasis on this note here? What is it that you would like us to know? Whoa. Oh my gosh. They do want me to take all these cards. I feel resistant to take them, but okay. Facade, perseverance, impasse, acceptance, enlightenment. They're telling me this is the story. This is, you know, we talked about the time is not really linear, but they're saying if you needed a linear timeline, this is kind of it. We kind of move through these phases of, you know, inner healing and inner change, and it's around, you know, being, you know, self-acceptance, accepting ourselves, accepting others, accepting the what is of life, not getting stuck in these places where we feel like we don't understand, but to just keep going. They're telling me I don't have this storyline right. But I'm just going to keep on going, darn it. I accept it, and I'm going to keep on going, even if I don't have it right. Yeah, I think that's the whole point, right? Yeah, there's a lot of healing here. So they're giving me this very strong impression. Sorry, the storyline's going off in a couple of different directions here now, but they're giving me a strong storyline for some of you that some of the stuck energy is related to people who have passed over, and you may be dealing with some grief and loss at this time. They want us to continue to persevere, but they're bringing that message forward. Perseverance is not the same as like, you know, they don't want us to push through and hammer through and deny our own humanity or deny our own experience, but they do want us to continue to keep practicing, focusing our consciousness toward this higher energy, to keep practicing, focusing on where we are going collectively, where we are going energetically, holding that light. And then ultimately here, this is part of the journey toward our enlightenment. And they're saying enlightenment meaning lightening the load, lightening the burden, not just the consciousness, right? But lightening the burden of our experience. So interesting. Okay. They like these cards. Okay, anything else? Okay. What are the next steps for this collective in the month of August? Thank you. Wow. Some of you may have the experience in the coming month of feeling like you're hitting a wall. They call it here rock bottom, but basically hitting a wall, hitting a point where you're just like, you don't even necessarily feel stuck. You just kind of come up against this wall that feels like a barrier. Like, how do I even move through this? Where do I even go from here? And the message here is around surrender. So for some of you, the next steps are really in relation to surrendering, finding peace in that, finding a way to be in the energy of surrender, because you again, for some of you, you're going to feel like you hit a wall, you hit a blocked point in your experience where you can't move forward. Excuse me. Listening to spirit, listening to yourself, listening to wisdom. For some of you, listening to music. There's something here about also, you know, lightening your own energy a little bit, and music can sometimes help us do that. Listening to the divine. There's messages coming in for some of you that are sensitive. You're going to be receiving synchronicities. You're going to be receiving messages. For some of you, these messages are very, very concrete. They're very specific, meaning you're going to hear about a specific situation that's going to cause you to act in a specific way. Whereas for others of you, this is more just a general global, you know, being aware of the synchronicities happening. Excuse me. But yeah, I'm getting very strongly, this may be related to someone passing, actually. I'm getting very strongly, some of you may be hearing about someone's passing, or even potentially receiving an inheritance after someone's passing. That's kind of the energy that's coming through here. So when I talk about specific messages, that's what I mean. For some of you, it's going to be that specific, like you're going to hear about something like that. Spirit of place. Two messages here. One is about embracing the awareness that you're already in the right place at the right time. That is part of the energy of surrender. When we come to peace with this idea and this knowing, it becomes a knowing. But when we come to peace with this idea that we're already in the right place at the right time, it reduces our inner sense of conflict and our inner sense of, turmoil. It's like when we come into that space of awareness and we start to know this to be true, when you evolve to the point where you know it to be true that you're in the right place at the right time always, life just somehow feels a little easier. We can be a little bit more in harmony with all that's going on. The other thing they're showing me here is the energy of ceremony, the energy of honoring nature. For some of you, there's a need to be connected to nature. That's really your spiritual center. That's really where you get your your spirit fed. And so if you're struggling in any of these areas that have come forward in the reading so far, nature and ceremony may be very helpful places for you. Spirit, what final messages do you have for this collective? What final messages do you have for this collective? Wow. Peacekeeper, let go of the need to be right. They're also saying, in a way, this is like letting go of the need to be the peacekeeper, because there's something, sometimes, as I said earlier, sometimes when we come from our wounded child, when we're dealing in life from our wounded child, we're trying to control the outside environment. And some of us, and I've been in this role many times in my life, where I see a need to bring peace to a situation, and so I try to step into that. But that's when I come from a wounded child and I step into that energy, then I am trying to control a situation. And when we're trying to control a situation, we're not actually bringing the energy of peace to it. We are perpetuating the tension because we're automatically stepping into the situation with the perspective that something is wrong, something is broken. Wise one, grow within your current situation, right? Be here now. Recognize that whatever situation you're in and whatever situation you're dealing with right now is the situation for your highest good. It is the situation that's bringing you to your ultimate growth and ascension. So honor it, appreciate it. You know, those 10 pounds that I've gained, you know, can I appreciate that this is just where I am right now? Can you appreciate where you are right now, what the circumstances are? And just allow it, knowing that you're in the right place at the right time and that spirit is working for you. Mirror guardian, take time to reflect. There's a portion of you in this collective that you're in an interesting place in transition where you're looking around you and perhaps in your close relationships, you're seeing a lot of conflict and you're seeing a lot of strife and difficulty. And within that group, there's some of you who look to the other person and kind of blame the other person for their part in that situation. For some of you, you're separating from that person, recognizing this energy no longer serves me. But overall, what they're conveying here is that it's time to go inward, right? We start to take responsibility for our own experience, not blaming the other person, but recognizing our role. Why did we choose this situation? And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Because on some level, we're all making choices, energetically, emotionally, and what have you. And I will always say the caveat, with the exception of abuse, I never, there is no excuse for abuse of any kind. So if that happens to be your situation, please recognize that's not what I'm talking about here. But we all create our own circumstance. So if there are people around you that are in chaos and people around you that are in conflict, they're arguing with you, they're struggling against you, whatever that is, remember, they're mirroring back to you something for your learning, but you're also mirroring for them something. And so it's time to recognize your part in that. And we also have protection guardian, drop your shields. It's a very interesting energy and interesting message here, especially for those of us that are sensitives, for those of us that are sensitives and light workers and, you know, intuitives and things like that. We often feel this sense or this need to guard ourselves or to protect ourselves energetically, emotionally, or otherwise, because we are very sensitive, right? And there's this kind of natural inclination to have to protect our own energy. And first of all, they're saying that we're always here protecting you, and all you have to do is ask. That the energy of that love and support is always here around us. But there's something more that they want to convey here, which is that oh, pardon me, I keep yawning. I don't know what that's about. But there's something here about, how do I want to say this? When it's a false belief to think that we have to protect ourselves. That's kind of what they're showing me here. Oh, goodness, excuse me. It's a false belief, meaning our projection and our thoughts about what it means to be sensitive, etc. It's just a story, right? In other words, we're always protected. And so it's a part of this message. Sorry, it's a little complicated, but part of what they're showing me here is that it's all in what we think and believe. There's nothing to protect ourselves against. There is nothing against us. We are part of the whole. We are there. There is only one energy, right? And so we do not need to be in an energy of separating ourselves from the greater energy, because there's nothing that can truly harm us. So what they're basically saying is that, you know, you don't have to consciously try to shield yourself. This is more about changing the perception and the awareness that you don't need shielding, because you're already protected, if that makes sense. That was a tough message for me to get out. I want to look at final messages. These particular messages, rather than coming from our guides, these particular messages are coming from people who have crossed over. And I want to invite in now messages to the collective for those that need to hear it. Anyone who's crossed over that would like to convey a message, please allow the messages to come forward for this collective. Well, they're showing me quite a number of people coming forward for this collective that have passed over. These are not even your spirit guides or anything like that. These are people that have passed over that have messages for you. And the overarching energy here that they want you to know is just they just hold this incredible love for those individuals that have passed over. There's just an incredible love that they have for us. And here are the messages that they're bringing forward. And they are telling me there's a couple of you, this is very, very specific, but there are a couple of you in this particular collective that are going to be listening to this message, that this particular message, take a moment, is speaking directly to you. Now is not the time to rush into a decision you're about to make. Before this important decision is made, take a moment to pause and quiet your mind so that you can ask your soul for guidance before you act or move. So there's a few of you that are trying to make a difficult decision. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just getting a little lost in that energy, but they're being very clear that there's a very specific message for you. If you're in a place and you're trying to make a very difficult decision, they're asking you just to take a beat, just to take a moment and really get quiet. And also invite in your spirit guides, invite in your departed loved ones who can be here to support you. It's so funny, I keep yawning. That almost never happens when I'm reading. I'm sorry. This message is more for the global group here. Choices. When you accept responsibility for your life and the choices you make, you begin to tap into the power of your own spirit. That was part of the message that came through earlier. Taking responsibility, not blaming others, being accountable to your own experience. You'll be able to listen to and appreciate the intuitive wisdom that's inside you and apply it positively and constructively to your outer world. They're telling me this message is going to be a message of inspiration for the collective. And this is what they want you to hear. Always remember, you're a soul that comes with a body, not a body that comes with a soul. Your soul is your true essence, and you have an unlimited supply of soul power at your command whenever you need it. Did you get that? Your soul is your true essence, and you have an unlimited supply of soul power at your command whenever you need it. They want you to start accessing that. They want you to use that soul power that's available to you. But they have some Starseed messages specifically here that they'd like to bring forward. There's a lot of different spiritual energies here today. Which is great. I love that. All right. They're saying this message is for those of you that identify as Starseed or Pleiadians. Wow. Okay. Just a few, please, Spirit. So again, anyone who identifies as a Starseed or a Pleiadian or as being from Lemuria, if that language resonates with you. Gotta straighten up the cards. Okay. Wow. All right. You know who this is for. Just say no. Wait, postpone, say no. And they're telling me, by the way, this is not a literal, you don't literally have to say no, but it's about recognizing you have the option to say no. You're always at free choice. You're always at free will. But they're saying, don't forget that there's always an option to say no. There's always an option to say no. I feel like this is speaking to someone, and it feels a little bit similar to this energy here. Dance with life. Do something to change your energy. Be conscious about where your energy is now. Be conscious about tuning into that, and be conscious about doing something to shift it. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be listening to music, dancing. You don't have to think about it. Just do it. Go play, go roll in the grass, go do some artwork, that kind of thing. They want you to, there's a couple of you in this particular, when I say Starseed, Lightworker, etc., that are resonating with this message. There's a couple of you that are feeling pretty stuck. And they're just saying, like, look, you can just move that energy pretty effortlessly. You don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff to get there. Just, go dance, go run, go play in the grass, okay? Leap. You go first. The universe will catch you. This is still all about letting go, having faith, releasing yourself, surrendering to the greater good, that higher energy. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, seeding the light, laying foundations, divine plan. Recognize that you have a part in the divine plan as a seed of light. As a seed of light, you are part of this divine plan. And so all of that to say that you're part of everything that's unfolding. You're a part of all of it. And they want you to begin to see and feel and recognize that you are part of it. You are not separate from it. It's not like something is happening to you. You are part of the grand design. Whew, okay. Wow. Sorry, I'm still yawning. It's a very long reading, a lot of energy moving on this reading. I feel a lot of energy kind of mixed in this group, but I'm actually getting the energies a little bit stuck in this group. There's a little bit of a flatness to the energy of this group. And they're giving me the impression it's a little bit of like, you know, being in shock, and you kind of want to shake it up a little bit, right? Go dance, go do something to shake up the energy a little bit. All right, with that, I promise I'm at the end of the reading, and I send you much love and light. Thank you always for the opportunity to share these messages. It's my true joy to be able to bring these messages forward to you. For anyone interested in a private reading, I will be postponing all readings until September. I will be traveling and unavailable to offer private readings at this time. However, if you are interested, please feel free to visit the website at lightguided.com, and you can check out the types of private readings that I offer, and convene in September when I'm back. All right, my friends, take good care. Much love.